Good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Anusha Goyal, on behalf of Mark Heaven, the Marketing Society, in association with Department of Management and Financial Studies, Shahid Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women, welcomes each one of you to this webinar. I would extend a hearty welcome to the speaker of the session, Mr. Jayant Shah, the Executive Director, Academy of Indian Marketing, and the CEO of AIM Parshuraman Center of Service Excellence, for gracing this session. The topic for today's session is Societal Marketing, the New Normal. Societal marketing is a marketing concept that holds that a company should make marketing decisions not only by considering consumers' wants, the company's requirements, but also society's long-term interests. The organization's task is to determine the needs, wants, and interests of a target market and to deliver the desired more effectively and efficiently than competitors in a way that preserves and enhances the well-being of both the individual consumer and society in general. It encourages developing products that benefit society in long run and satisfy consumers. Speaking for the same learning, I warmly welcome Mr. Jayant Shah, an eminent chartered accountant and an associate member of ICAI since 1982. Mr. Shah is currently the Executive Director of Academy of Indian Marketing, the CEO of AIM Center of Service Excellence, and member of the Board of Governors of IILM University, Gurgaon. Sir carries a varied experience in organizational and management consultancy and is currently associated with the eminent management guru, Dr. Jagdish Sheikh. He is also instrumental in formation of the Academy of Indian Marketing, which is a non-profit organization having top 40 B schools as its members and is active in promoting research in the area of marketing. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Anusha. First of all, I would like to congratulate you all and inviting me for this exciting session, and your Professor Rablin Kaur, who was instrumental in pursuing me for over almost like 1 month. And once all these days, I was just prolonging it because of other commitments. And what we call it, जब जब जो जो होता है तब तब सो सो होता है, जब जब जो जो होना है तब तब सो सो होता है. So today was the day and we all are here. I welcome all the participants who are here to listen to me on this topic. So thank you all. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank Mark Heaven, the Department of Management and Financial Studies Marketing Society at Shahid Rajguru College for Applied Sciences for Women. And especially when we are talking about women, this is women empowerment. And I came to know about this college very recently from one of my friends. And he told me that this college is so high in ranking that even SRCC doesn't come near to it, because SRCC has cut off in percentage, but this college always asks for open test, and through that test only they admit. So I was excited about the students, the quality of the students, and the quality of the faculty. So thank you all this, and that is why I chose this topic. That there are so many other topics which we were discussing, but I thought that it is going to be more relevant to all of you, because you all are exceptionally high ranking students, and many of these students, they join ultimately some IIMs over the years. So thank you very much. And I will just start my talk with the context. So setting up the context for the presentation, then we will go into the presentation, and then we will open up the Q&A. So what is the new normal? That is what is the question. So when we are saying that the new normal, so we were anyway living in a normal society till 2019. The coronavirus hit us. Before that, we were doing all our work just like normally what we were doing. Suddenly this coronavirus has changed the way we are living, the way we are thinking, the way we are behaving. And going forward, it is not going to be back to the normal. So 2019 is over now, and from 2020 onwards, we are going to live in a different society. So what is it all about? So Aristotle, the legendary Greek philosopher, said once that man is a social animal. So why it was that man is a social animal? The three basic things which we require is food, clothing, and shelter. So during the old times, we were all living in a forest, and in forest, our basic needs were our food and shelter. So we were living in caves, and food was we were procuring from fishing and hunting. Thereafter, when we organized the society, came into the organization, our behavior and everything is controlled by certain guidelines. So these guidelines were like our religious books. You can call it Bible or Quran or Gita or Ved, Puran, anything, whatever you want to call it by any name. But these were the guidelines that how to behave in the society, organized society. And in modern times, when that was the feudal time, but today's time when we have the nations, then constitution of the nation is the guideline for us to behave in the society. So all these honors comes to us that what is our social behavior. Then in the modern society for last 1 decade, from man as a social animal, we have become a social media animal. So now we are in a digital society. And in social media, the behavior is also completely different. So now with this COVID happening, there is a realization that we also belong to a physical society because we are only in lockdown condition. We are living in our home. We are not going out. Although there are some people who just break all these rules, and that is going to happen in society. It is normal. But generally, we are living in now physical society as well. And we have realized that what is the importance of the physical society. But we cannot give up the digital society also as well. So what happens is now that we are in a shift from physical, digital to phygital society, what I call it. So now we are thinking about more and more sharing and caring, that what is our responsibility, how to share the responsibility at home, how to care for our near and dear ones, our family members, our siblings, everybody. So we are doing tasks at home which we have never done in our life earlier also. We thought that it is the responsibility of our housemaid or our wife or mother or daughter or whatever you call it. But generally it was a female gender, we were putting onus on them, or our housemaid. So that is what is going to happen as a change. Now, what is all about marketing is it is driven by demand and supply. There is always a gap in demand and supply. So we have to fill in the gap. And this demand and supply gap is always balanced by either the people or what we call it consumer, and sometimes by nature. So how nature is filling the gap? There are factors of change in nature which balances our demand and supply gap. So there are natural calamities like earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic eruptions, which are happening all around us. And COVID-19 is a pandemic. So what we call it natural calamities, the earthquakes or tsunami or volcanic eruptions, these are place specific. It is not general. So volcanic eruption will happen at one place, earthquake happens at certain place, tsunami also happens, and it hits sometimes the shores of other countries. But it is never a worldwide pandemic or that kind of phenomena. So we live how to live on those places. We know that earthquakes, Japan knows how to live in earthquake prone area. Tsunami also is happening over there. They know how to deal with the tsunami. Volcanic eruptions, whenever it happens, like Indonesia and islands around that, they know how to deal with this kind of problems, the natural calamities. But when there is a pandemic like Corona, nobody knows how to deal with this kind of pandemic, how to deal with it, because this coronavirus is affecting all the life all over the world. Even if I am not a corona positive or negative, still I am affected by corona in a way that economy is shattered all around the world. And that shattering of the economy is affecting everybody. Whether we are sitting at home, we are in lockdown, we are safe, we are alive. But economic conditions are happening all around us. And that is driving us crazy that what we should do now, what is our future, we are all concerned about it. So this is a shift which is happening, and whenever a shift happens, it happens gradually. So I think Everybody or most of you must have heard about shifting sands. If you have gone to Dubai, the sand dunes, or some of the people who have gone to Jaisalmer and desert area, or if you have gone to any of the seashore like Juhu Beach in Mumbai or Marina Beach in Chennai or abroad, any of the beaches, and when you stand there on the seashore, you feel that waves after waves comes over there and sands below your feet starts shifting. So this shifting of sands, you cannot see it. So shift, when it happens, it is not visible. But what happens is that you can experience it. You feel it that the shift is happening. That is what right now it is happening. We cannot see that what change is coming, what will happen. But we do feel that the shift is happening, and it is happening now for good, and it is happening for, it is maybe that we can go back to the normal society, but it will not be the previous normal which we were living. We will have to deal with the new normal, and that is what it is going to be. And when this change happens, it happens naturally. Sometimes what happens is generation also brings the change. So every decade or every 2 decades, the generation changes, and every new generation, they have new kind of demand. They have new style of living, new standard of living. And all these things brings also the change in the life. So if you were living, I think most of you people, you are from this current millennium, but those who were of the previous millennium, the people who were belonging to my generation, they know that how they were living with whatever was available. At that time, we never experienced that what will be the internet. We have never heard about the term internet or smartphone or mobile phone, wireless. Everything was never heard about it. And we never thought that this is going to change our life. But suddenly, by 1980s, 1990s, the wireless came in, wireless brought mobile phone to us, and then internet and smartphone. So the world has changed. So we have seen this change, we have experienced this change, but we never envisaged that this change is going to happen. So current millennium people, students who are there out, who were born in this millennium, you don't know that after 20 years, after 30 years, what is your life is going to be, because you are experiencing only the present, what is happening around you. And sometimes technology also brings the changes, and uses creates more demand of these technologies. So I'll just give you the example that during the 60s and 70s, we were living in the era of landline telephone. And those landlines in 60s, it was like analog devices, and exchanges were also analog controlled. So if you want to dial to somebody, you have to first pick up the receiver. The operator at the other end, he will receive your call, and you tell him that I want to connect to this number. Then he will connect to that number through his taking out the pin from the box and putting it into the pin of the person whom you want to talk. So you may never think about it that what was that kind of exchange. Then came the digital exchange, and digital exchange, we had the control in our own hand. We can dial to somebody and it is getting connected directly. Thereafter, the landline got converted into a wireless mode. What was wireless at that time? First wireless connection was introduced by pager. You may not have heard about what is pager. Pager was a small device, and I can call to that number. That number will transfer to the pager, and there will be a beep which will go to that pager. The person who is carrying that pager, he will receive that beep, and he will come to know that somebody is trying to call him. So he will go to a landline telephone and he will come. Okay. So that was the pager. And then pager gave way quickly to the mobile phone. At that time, Motorola was the company which introduced the mobile telephony. So nobody thought that mobile, even in the Motorola company also, they thought that maximum usage will be about 10 million people or so. They never thought that billions and billions will use the mobile phone. And that was very costly. The handset and all these things was very costly. But with the shrinkage of chips and shrinkage of size, now it is all handheld devices. Then came the smartphone, and smartphone changed the way we are living. It is just one decade, 2009. Apple brought in the smartphone, first smartphone, that was a touch phone. And it was not as smart as what we have today, the smartphone. So that was the touch phone which changed our life completely. So that is the change which is happening. And we never envisaged that this kind of change is going to happen. At that time, camera was never in the phone. Then camera got embedded into phone. People thought that why do you want a camera in a phone? We have so many cameras. All the companies like Canon, Olympus, they are producing best cameras. Why we want to use a phone camera? But the convenience made it way. And today everybody is using the phone camera. At the same time, sometimes when you don't go with the trend, then you are out of the market. Same thing happened with a company called Kodak. They were the company which introduced the digital camera first, but never wanted to use that camera because their main business was film roll. And that is where the revenue was coming. But all the Japanese companies, they took the initiative and popularized the digital camera, and suddenly Kodak went out of business. So another thing is that the television industry. So television industry at that time, it was a black and white television, terrestrial television, which started somewhere around 1960s, again the same time. And then it was a black and white terrestrial television, then came the color television. The color television was again black and white and color. They had the CRT tubes, which was giving the picture on the tube in front of you, but it was a big box. And you must not have seen those kind of televisions, but that was the era of the innovation. And this CRT television gave way to plasma, which was a short-lived. Then it went into the LCD TV, and LCD gave way to LED, which you are seeing today. So 20 years back, when Sony Television said that we are going to bring the television, which is going to be just like a photo frame you will hang on the wall, people never thought that this kind of television can come in reality. And it will be far, far costly than what we can think about. And today, within these 2 decades, we have this LED smart television which are connected to internet, and it is available at the fraction of the cost. That is like something like 25,000-30,000 rupees. You can have a 40-inch LED TV hanging on your wall. So this shift today, which I can tell you that apps like Zoom, Google Meet, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, we are using one of the same thing today for this webinar. So this kind of web conferencing tool, which we never thought that it is going to happen, and we can talk to each other anywhere around the world through this kind of conferences. Just 4 years back, Zoom was there, but nobody was using Zoom at that time. Nobody was using any other Google Meet or WebEx. It was only enterprise solution. It was not an individual solution. But with this corona, suddenly everything is changing. At that time, Microsoft had only the Skype platform, and very rarely people were using Skype, which was there around for 2 decades. And suddenly Skype is today out of business. Nobody wants to use Skype because the user friendliness of Zoom or Google Meet or WebEx platform or Microsoft Teams is so good that you don't want to use any technology which is not user friendly. So this ever-changing demand and consumption pattern is all linked to changing decades. So every decade brings some new changes. So look at the 60s when 4Ps was introduced, and over the year when changing the decades, 60s to 70s, 70s to 80s, and every other decades till now today in 2020, in 6 decades, 60 years, your food habits have changed, your travel habits have changed, your transport habits have changed, your usage of cars, your usage of entertainment, everything has changed. Look at the food habits. In our times, we used to eat at home, and if sometimes we want to go to a restaurant, people around us will look down that you don't get food at your home, nobody is cooking food at your home, that you are coming to the restaurant. Why there is a need to go to the restaurant? Only once occasionally you can go to the restaurant. Then after some decades, when you are going to the office, you carry the tiffin from your home, or sometimes you order from some restaurants and you go and eat in the restaurants during the lunchtime. Everything is now a history. Today you can order any food anywhere, wherever you are sitting, through online, and people like Swiggy or Zomato, they will come and deliver. So this is the new change. This is the new reality. You don't need to cook at home. Even you can get your food at home. You can get your food in office. You can, even you are sitting in a garden and you can order it. The food will be delivered over there. And why they are able to deliver it to you over there? It is because of one application. It is because of this new age trend. These kind of applications supported by Google and Android, the location determination makes it easy that it is delivered at your location exactly where you are without any failure. Nobody ever thought that this can happen, that you can order your food on your mobile and it will be delivered wherever you are. Even if you are sitting or standing on the corner of a street, it will be delivered over there. Same thing for your travel habits. You can book your travel tickets sitting anywhere, going to any place for anybody, not for yourself. You can book the tickets for your parents. You can book the ticket for your friends. And you can send the tickets by email or by WhatsApp or by any means to them. So it is so convenient, so easy. People never thought. In our times, we used to go to the railway station, stand in queues for hours and hours to get the ticket booked. And whether we will get or not, again, next day you come back. At that time, there was a limitation of time. Today, 24/7, it is open. Anytime you can book your ticket. So that is what is the change. Then transport. That transport, at that time, railway was the major mode of transport, but with infrastructure, better infrastructure, the transport is delivered door to door. Today, in our times, we never heard the term courier. Today, you are getting your courier parcel, everything within 24 hours, 72 hours, abroad also you can send it. So these are the changes which is all enabled by this technology, the Internet of the Things. Same thing, the usage patterns of cars. Earlier, we had limited numbers of cars on the road. The ambassadors and Fiats were ruling the road because there was a constraint. The license Raj, whenever there is any kind of license, then it limits your ability to expand the market. But when the market is free and it is competitive market, then new products come in. There is always a good quality parameters sets in. Government decides the parameters and company also decide by themselves what are the parameters which is required to make it better and best. So you have cars from Maruti Suzuki to you have cars now on Indian roads like BMW and Lamborghini also. At that time, it was not allowed to import any car unless and until you have the foreign exchange income or revenue in your account. So only the companies who were into exports, they could import, and that too by the permission from the government. Today, your habits have changed. Earlier, when you started with the Maruti Suzuki small cars, now then you went into sedan cars and then SUVs. So same thing for movies. Earlier, the movie halls were different. Today, the PVRs of the things is there. You have different kind of experience altogether. So production of movies also are changing according to the need of the people, according to the size of the audience over there in the PVR screens and those kind of things. But that is also changing now with the Netflix and Hotstar. We will discuss it in my presentation also. So new norm is all about sharing and caring. Just look at the two apps which are there, Ola and Uber. In our times, we never thought that we can book a taxi and it will come to my doorstep. It will pick me up from my doorstep and it will, wherever I want to go, it will drop me at the same location. So when it became Ola and Uber thought that it is a costly proposition for one person, they started Ola sharing, Uber share. So now you can go 2 to 3 people and you can share the fare over there and they will drop each one of you exactly at your location. Same thing happened with bike sharing called BYK bike and Rapido and those kind of things. So this is what is the change is happening. Same thing happened with e-commerce. We never thought that we will get whatever we want from anywhere in India or anywhere in the world, which will be delivered to my home. And I know the price that at what price I am picking up the goods. So that is what is e-commerce is all about. Same thing happened with the banking. Earlier we used to go to bank in physical form. We had to write a check. We have to write a deposit slip to deposit our money. Today, machines are doing the job and there is a digital banking. I am sitting at anywhere, even from my laptop or from my mobile also I can do banking. Same thing banking has changed with introduction of when this denomination happened, then Paytm changed the way we are doing our digital transaction. So money has now from physical, it has become a digital. And even there are talk that we should go into digital currency also, so that Bitcoins kind of things can happen, but which is very rare that how government can handle, because this kind of transactions, it requires international norms and it should be required backed by the gold reserve. So it will take some time, but change will happen. Nobody can say that it will not happen. Same thing with the insurance and online delivery also. So marketing is all about push and pull. So push happens when you have a product and you want to sell it, then you do a push marketing. So push your product into the market and generate the demand. And pull marketing is that you attract customers to your place and then deliver the product to them. So push is more for products and pull is more for services kind of things. That pull happens when you are in restaurant business or those kind of things. So I think the new normal will be people versus propaganda, because in the internet kind of things and social media and those kind of things with the app-based delivery system, it will be you as a customer, you are the people, and then there is a lot of propaganda around digital marketing. So push-pull will not be replaced, but it will be supplemented by people and propaganda. But now what we require is conservation of resources. In this trend, we have become a consumer society. Earlier we were, in my kind of things, when I was born and my parents were there, we were into savings economy. Suddenly saving economy gave way to digital economy, which is a spending economy. Earlier when I was going to the market, I need to have currency in my pocket to buy anything. If I don't have and I want to buy, I will come back home. So I'm saving that money which I was to spend. And that is what was the society was all about. Today, in your age, you have the digital currency in your pocket. You don't need any currency in your pocket. You have the credit card and debit card, or on your phone, you have the apps like Paytm and PhonePe and Bheem or those kind of things through which you can do any transaction anytime. So suddenly you have urge to spend, even though you don't have the money you want to spend. Credit card is giving you that limit that even if I'm having zero balance in my account, and if I have a credit limit of 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees on my credit card, I can spend that money. So we are now into spending economy. This has made more abuse in terms of abuse of our resources and reserves. So water resources we are depleting, the forest resources we are depleting in terms of packaging, in terms of tissue papers and those kind of things which we were never doing in our lifetime. Now we are doing, and millions of trees are being cut in the process, and to regrow these trees, it will take generation. So that is what is all about our spending habits. Now suddenly this COVID has made us realize that we should again come back to the savings economy, because you don't know what is the future, whether your job will remain or not. Whatever you were earning, whether that earning will be also there or not, whether it will supplement your kind of lifestyle, you don't know. So again, you are thinking in terms of how to save more money, and inflation is taking a toll on you. Whether the economy will sustain or not, that also we don't know. So all these things are a question mark for the future. So what is available today, when we call it, a penny saved is a penny earned. So whatever you can save today, that is your earning. You need not depend on your income, which is your future income, but your present saving will be your income for the future. So what we have to do is that it is about creating the value. So value for each stakeholders, value for the society, value for the individuals, value for the government, value for the companies, and for companies, there are stakeholders. So value for the stakeholders, value for the customers, and at the same time, customers also have to learn how to deal with all these things. So let us go into now the main presentation. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So marketing was all about 4 P's of marketing. So these are the cardinal principles of marketing, and this was introduced by Professor Edmund Jerome McCarthy, who was an American marketing professor, and he, in his book in 1960, Basic Marketing, a Managerial Approach, introduced this 4 P's of marketing. And later on, this 4 P's was popularized by Professor Philip Kotler. And because Kotler is a legend now, living legend, so this picked up and this became the cardinal principles of the marketing. So each 4 P's is governing how the marketing is going to behave and how we should address the problems of marketing, any kind of marketing, whether it is a product marketing or services marketing. So the 4 P's are product, price, promotion, and place, which all of you, the students, any students, when he begins to learn about marketing, he has to go through these 4 cardinal principles of marketing in the first place. Without this, you cannot become a marketing person. So in this presentation, what I'm going to do is that I'm introducing the 4 P's of marketing supplemented by 4 P's of societal marketing. So in no way we are saying that these 4 P's of marketing will be replaced. So this 4 P's of marketing for last 6 decades it is there, and for next 6 decades also it will be there. Earlier some people tried to supplement it with another piece of marketing like 6 P's of marketing or 7 or 9 P's of marketing. So what are the societal marketing 4 P's of societal marketing? So product is going to be supplemented by people. Next slide, please. Product is going to be supplemented by people. Next slide. So what it means? It means that people-centric marketing is going to be the new norm. Earlier we had product-centric marketing when these 4 P's were introduced. And at that time, product was the core around which the marketing was developed. At that time, services were not marketed so much because services was very, very personal. So when you think about services, you think that a chartered accountant is a service provider, a lawyer is a service provider, architect is a service provider. So these kind of services were governed by some rules and regulations. So you cannot advertise yourself, you cannot market yourself. So at that time, all the products which were being manufactured in factory, these were being marketed. Over the years, like in 80s, early 80s, 90s, the new age services came into being. That was all aided by software as a service. So we have the platform SaaS, software as a service. Then new age services like, technology-backed services, the banking services, the insurance services, the healthcare services, all these, because aided by the internet, they started coming online and then felt the need to market the services properly. And who are the people who are going to be marketing? So you are the customers, you are the people to whom they have to market the services. And today's time, there is another kind of service which is going to come to your doorstep. That is a gig economy. So many people, they don't want to now go back to the profession which they were doing, or they want to stay with the profession, but in a different way. They don't want to serve under anybody, but they will be serving by themselves. So new websites creation and all this is happening. So you can access all these services at the touch of a button. So market has expanded. A person or a lady who is living in a small village somewhere in Kutch, around Bhuj, or somewhere in Rajasthan, can market the products which she is creating, manufacturing anywhere in the world. And there are platforms available them to market these services. So more focus is going to be on product or services. So focus is on usefulness of the services or usefulness of the product, how it is going to be useful to the people. And sometimes, in earlier times when I had gone to Goa in 1970s, Goa is a place where it attracts tourists from all over the world. At that time, there was no internet, there was nothing, only print media was there, and only limited amount of data was available through print media, that what is available in Goa. You have to find the hotel on your own, you have to go there, get the hotel, book the hotel. You cannot do any booking online. You cannot do any booking by phone. So personally, you have to go and get it done. That time, Goa was also providing services of bike rental. It was the first time I saw that bike was being given as a rental service during that time in 1970s, 80s. And if you don't know how to drive a bike, they were providing you a biker also. So that was the kind of service, but nobody knew about it. So there are services which are available. Today, you can find any service, any product online. So now you have Ola and Uber kind of things, airlines, and every facility available to you. So market has expanded because of the free economy. Earlier, it was all controlled economy. So whenever there is a free economy, there is a competition, the market expands. But at the same time, you have to be responsible in marketing your product and services. You cannot take the customer for ride. So earlier also, the dictum was that customer is the king. Still, it is ruled today also. That rule is not going to change anytime. So marketing has to be for the goodness of the product and services. You should convey that why the product or why the service is good for the society, good for the people, why its use is good for you. Recently, this COVID times, we were worried about that if somebody comes to deliver any product to my doorstep, whether it will be good for me to pick up that product, whether I will contract corona or not. At that time, I saw a beautiful ad from Domino's. They said that our own people will deliver. We don't entrust anybody else. So our own people who are employees of Domino's will deliver the product. It is untouched by hand. Nobody touches the product. Everything is cooked and served in that packed box without any human touch. And we deliver it at your home without touch. So that is the kind of safety message they were sending out to the people. So this was kind of a people-centric advertisement. And that is what is the marketing technique, that how you are more people-centric. So sometimes you have to be ready for a change also. Whatever you are manufacturing or whatever services you are providing, you should be ready for change. It is not static. As I mentioned earlier also, that there are shifting trends always happening around us. And we have to be ready to accept that shifting trend. So recently, when COVID happened, then suddenly India felt the need that we don't have anything to support, that we don't manufacture any PPE kits. We don't have testing kits. We don't have ventilators. And there is a huge demand for all these things. And believe me, today we are manufacturing 2 lakh PPE kits and masks every day. So the society woke up, the industry woke up to the need, that there is a need, we should do it. There are many NGOs who are also manufacturing the masks. Then there are many industries who are, garment industries in a big way came forward and they said, we have employees, but we have no orders. What to do? We can prepare the PPE kits for the market. And PPE kits also, it requires specialized sealing on the seam. But we didn't have the sealing tape at that time. This tape is also being imported. And at that time, we cannot import these tapes. So somebody came up with the idea of hot sealing of the seam. And that is the novelty, that is the innovation. So sometimes the need of the hour allows us to make immediate improvement and innovation within no time. So ventilator also, companies like Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata's, Maruti Suzuki, these are automobile company, Maruti Suzuki or Mahindra or Tata. They started manufacturing ventilators. Within 3 days, Mahindra came up with a ventilator, and ventilator which was costing around 7-8 lakhs rupees. They could manufacture it at the price you never believe. Anand Mahindra himself mentioned that the cost will come down to 7,500 rupees for the ventilator. Imagine 7 lakhs rupees and 7,500. That is the power of innovation and power of the society, frugal innovation out of India. So many pharma companies started manufacturing the hydrochloroquine tablets. Earlier it was manufactured by only 3 companies. Now I think 12 or more companies are manufacturing it. Another innovation of this people-centric innovation is all about the food which is being served to the people who are traveling, who don't have food. The langar being served by the Gurudwara. It is one innovation, although they have been serving it all over when they established the Gurudwara, so for hundreds of years they are serving. And today Akshay Patra and this kind of things is happening around us. So let us play one small ad. Can you go to the next slide and play the video? About a small 20 seconds clip was there where Lifebuoy is giving a message that if you use the Lifebuoy, it's okay, but any of the soap you use, it is good for cleaning your hands, and you can prevent the coronavirus around you by washing your hands with any of the soap. So it is not that only my soap which I want to sell to you is effective, but any of the soap is equally effective. So our next P is supplemented, the price is supplemented by profit. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So price is supplemented by profit. So what happens to profit? Profit is for the upliftment of the society. No business can run without profit, even if it is a non-government organization, NGO, if it is a not-for-profit making company. We say that it is not non-profit, but it is not actually non-profit, it is not for profit. So we make profit, but profit is not to be utilized for anything other than the purpose for which it is to be used. So whenever we have a monopoly, at that time, like, railways has a monopoly. So they can do whatever they want to do. There is no competition to them. So profit can be determined and price can be determined by them depending upon their own need and how they are going to deploy this profit. Same thing was earlier was LIC. LIC was in a controlled economy monopoly. There was no private companies were allowed to enter into insurance sector. Same thing was with banking sector. Banking was nationalized in 1970s and 72, second nationalization. At that time, all the banks which were private banks, all the insurance companies were private insurance companies. But all these banks and insurance companies during the time of Indira Gandhi were nationalized. So government was controlling the entire financial banking sectors. Thereafter, they opened up the sector, and then with oligopoly, there was competition. Now you have different kinds of products and services available through bank, through insurance companies, and all these things. But still, our belief is always with the government. So if you want to invest in bank, you want to keep fixed deposits, mostly you will prefer a government bank. If you want to deal with insurance companies, you would like to deal with LIC only. You don't want to go with the private insurance company in a big way. Okay, you can park some of your fund with the private insurance company or private banks, but mostly it is security wise, you always prefer that government security is the best security. So that is what is kind of the money we have to look at. So this service or the product which is price centric, it has to be profit centric, but profit has to be deployed back for the purpose for which we are making it. So there are philanthropic activities which should be the main focus, and redistribution of profit to all the stakeholders. So any company which is making profit, it has to retain a part of its profit for the development of the company. Whenever technological shift happens, it has to buy new machinery and new things which requires a new cost. So depreciated assets has no value. So you have to deploy your funds for that. So you allocate some of the money which you are making as a profit to keep in reserves. Some money you distribute it to the shareholders because that is also a responsibility. Same way, some money you spend for the society. So now government has made that CSR 2% of your profit for certain set of companies. They have to set aside and spend for the CSR activities. Same thing, the companies, they are responsible to pay to the government the taxes, the portion of taxes. And we have to be very open and candid about it, that how much tax we are paying, it should be very clean. We should not, you can avoid the tax within the framework of the rules, but you should not pay the taxes by any unscrupulous method. So that is the onus on us. Same thing, nobody looks at suppliers that he is a stakeholder. every company has supplier, and without the base of the supplier, you cannot produce anything, you cannot manufacture anything, you cannot do any services also. So supplier is a supply chain, and suppliers, they are the two big stakeholders for everything, but we neglect in the process. They should be, we should be responsible to pay them their dues on time, sometimes allow them the credit facilities or advance facilities, whatever is available, and keep them alive. If they are not there, we will not be there. And another part is the consumer. So who is your buyer? Who is consuming your product? Or who is the services which you are offering? Who is the buyer of that servicer? So they are also a stakeholder. So part of the profit should go for their education, for their development and understanding, and providing them the best options available so that they can choose at will whatever is good for them. So some examples are like, companies like Mahindra or Maruti Suzuki, they have deployed the funds. Wipro, Azim Premji has created a foundation, and today we have come to know that Azim Premji is the third highest donor for this COVID crisis in the world. So just imagine the kind of money he is putting, 72,000 crore rupees he has put in the foundation for the education sector. So foundation's activities mainly is containing around education, providing more education in official areas. Same thing is with Infosys Foundation, Hindustan Unilever, ITC Agri Products. ITC has created eChopal. They have created warehouses in every villages where villagers can come and sell their products, and they can buy the products also, the kind of fertilizers and other things. If they are buying, they can buy from that eChopal, and it is all online platform. So they can use their mobile and they can buy anything. They can know what is the prices running around for their product, what they have produced and what they want to buy. So these kind of things. Then Amul Cooperative. Amul is a big influencer from this cooperative sector. I have never seen anywhere this kind of cooperative sector Amul is creating. And Tata Group, this kind of companies, they are responsible for distribution of the profit with link to the price. So next slide. The third aspect of the 4 P's of marketing is promotion. And promotion is linked to the purpose. Go to the next slide, Ishka. Yeah. So promotion, whenever you are doing any campaign for your product or services, that promotion has to have some purpose. So what we call it is a purpose-driven marketing. There has to be a meaning in life. Without purpose, any kind of promotion, that activity will fail. You should understand what is your ultimate goal and what message you want to give through the promotion of the product. The purposes can be manifold. It is to educate the consumer, to educate the society, creating awareness campaign, whatever may be the purpose, but there has to be some purpose, and you should define what is the purpose. It is not that market is going to define the purpose. I can give you one very good example about Amul ads. For several decades, Amul is coming out with a message every week, and that is through that advertisement. Right now it is coming in Times of India on one corner of 4th or 5th page of Times of India, which gives the current message, what is happening in the society during the current times, and very witty message goes with it, with the message that utterly butterly Amul. During our times, there was hoardings I was living in Bombay at that time, and in Bombay on the Marine Drive and on the Worli Sea Face, there were big hoardings, which at that time the Nana Chudasama, who was the mayor of Mumbai, he had given that space to Amul, and every week they will display that message over there, and people will stop by there waiting for it, that what is the new message which is coming from Amul, because it was not the time of digital marketing or social media or anything. It was all physical. So we used to go there to watch the message in the morning or in the evening whenever we are going through that place. So that is what is about the purpose. So at that, we can give some examples like Nokia. When it came out with the slogan connecting people. So the message was very clear that we are here with the product which will connect you from any place to any place in the world. One beautiful ad I had seen about Lufthansa, that they had created an ad on the airport in Frankfurt, and there was a round table which is with a sitting capacity of about 15 or 20 people. And in the center there was a round lift, and in that lift there was food which was served for free to everybody, but only the food through the lift will come down only if all the seats are occupied. If one of the seat is vacant, then the food will not come down. So the message was clear that united we stand. If you have unity, if you want others to feed, you sit over there. Even if you don't want to pick your food, you don't pick, but you sit there so that the food will come. So all the 20 people has to be seated. That is the kind of message. That is the purpose. So same thing, Tata has also come out with several ads on that one. Cadbury, they have come out with ads around Rakhi time or Diwali time, that what is the new kind of purpose which they are serving to the society, kuch meetha ho jaye. Same thing, Airtel, they have come out with beautiful ads. We will play that ads now. And then at that time, LIC, Jindagi ke saath bhi, Jindagi ke baad bhi. Again, Bajaj, Hamara Bajaj was a message that it is a family which belongs to the Bajaj. Same thing, Bata, back to school. Whenever school opens, Bata sends out the message that back to school and we care for your children. Hindustan Unilever, water conservation. Then Godrej had come out with Chotu Mitti Cool. So a fridge without any wire, without any electricity, and it was a natural kind of things. So this is what is all purpose-driven promotion. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, recently Amul has come out with this Haldi Doodh. So in our household, my grandmother, I am having a milk every day with Haldi at home. But whenever we are traveling, we don't get Haldi milk. So Amul has come out with this beautiful product and promotion of the product, that this is available in a can anywhere, anytime you can drink this, and because it is to boost your immunity. We know that our immunity is weak now and we need to boost it. So this is the ad Amul has created. So this is the beauty of the product. Now can you go to the next slide and play the Airtel ad? Yeah. Okay, go to the next one. Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay.
So these two ads which was created by Airtel, it was giving out the message. One is that har friend zaruri hota hai. So in these times, we have realized that how important our friends, our family is to us, and we require them all the time. And second was the giving message of sharing and caring. You can share and you can care for others. So both these are beautiful messages. So this is what is the promotion with the purpose. And then the last one is the place. So where you want to place your product and what you want to do with it, it is all about passion. So patient drives an individual, and same way it drives a company also. Why you are there in the market? You have to be innovative. I can give you one example about GE Medical. They were manufacturing the ECG machines, and the challenge came that how we can make portable ECG machines, because many areas doctor cannot carry the ECG machine and patient cannot come to the clinic. So they came out with a product which is a portable, and challenge was that how to make it within 30,000. And all these innovations was happening in GE's. They have a center, R&D center in Bangalore, there where they were making this innovation. So they came out with a portable machine, but then printing of the graph was not there. It has to be connected to a printer. So you cannot carry the printer with you. So someday one person came to them and told them that if you want, within the company itself, that I have seen that conductors are printing the tickets while they are distributing the tickets online. So they have a handheld printer which prints the ticket, something like, you know, you have experienced that when you are using debit and credit card, they print your voucher or whatever it's there, the transaction, and give it back to you in a thermal ticket. So he said that why can't we use that one? And immediately they tweaked that instrument and made it into a printer which was attached to that portable machine. And they could come out with the product below that 30,000 price with all these specifications. And it was printing the graph very neatly. So if you think that what we have to do, you can do it. And if you have a passion for it, you can make the product and place the product in the hands of the consumers. So ultimately, what you want to achieve with this product and services, certain things are, you know, defense productions and all these things. Think about Israel. It's such a small nation on the world, and it produces the most lethal weapon and most latest equipments in technology, in everything, whatever you think. They are salination plant on to convert seawater into potable drinking water is fantastic. You have seen Narendra Modi visiting that seashore with the Prime Minister of Israel, and they were discussing about how to bring that technology to India. So this is all about placing, and it is all about passion. And passion leads you to success. Unless and until you have passion for it, the success will be always elusive. It may come to you, but it may be temporary. So be ready to learn and be ready to implement. That is the message I want to give from this fourth P of the societal marketing. So think about, you know, a product called Apple, the Apple iPhone. Steve Jobs, he had a passion to do. He was manufacturing computers, and suddenly he thought that why not to convert this into a handheld device? And he came out with the touch phone, which we never thought that it will be a success or it is going to be a hit product and it will change our life forever. Before that, BlackBerry was the only secured instrument which all the people in the world were using, all the heads of the nation were using BlackBerry for security reasons. But Apple could come out with a product which has completely decimated BlackBerry. BlackBerry doesn't exist anymore. They are into enterprise security and other things, but they are not manufacturing the mobile phone. Another big factor was Google. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they brought in Google, and it changed the way we are living today. Everything around us is all Google. You do everything today. This is what is happening, this seminar, webinar, whatever you call it. And whatever information we are getting, sharing, it is all through Google. So Google has de facto platform. Same thing is with Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Mark Zuckerberg has changed our life forever. Social media sharing through Facebook, through Instagram, chatting through WhatsApp. We cannot think our life before 10 years that whether we were existing or not. It looks like we were non-existent at that time. Today's YouTube, again, same thing. This webinar is also being live streamed on YouTube, and thousands of people can see what is happening live anywhere in the world. So this is the power of technology. But all these people, what I named to you, they had a passion. They had a passion to do something and place the product in the hands of the people. And now it's up to you how you want to use it, how you want to abuse it. That is also up to you. So we have to be more responsible in our usage of these products rather than abusing what the technology is enabling us. I can give you one example with the ad of Britannia. Next slide, please. Yeah, recently Britannia came out with this tweet that you log on to your WhatsApp and write Brit and send it to this number, and then you click on the link and you will find that Britannia products is available in and your surroundings, all the stores which is there, and you can find the store, locate the store which is nearest to you, go and buy the product, and it gives you updated information that which product is going out of shelf and which is being replaced in real time. So this is the kind of patience and responsibility towards the consumer that you should not be at the receiving end. So that is the kind of message the corporations, the corporates, they are giving. And big factor is all about government. Government spending is huge and government's messages are also very clear. But use of social media sometimes lacks in government information which we receive. Now more and more government agencies are using social media and giving out messages on real time. And a big factor was Twitter by late Sushma Swaraj. She used to handle all the tweets by herself, and those people who were abroad at any time during the night or morning, they were sending out the SOS messages. She was responding on Twitter and making that they are comfortable in what they are doing. So government also is spending huge money and they are sending out right message to us. Now let us play the next slide. There is I cannot hear the sound. Okay, so just go to the next slide, please, Ishika.
Yes, sir. I'm going.
Yeah. Today we have total advertising spend is about 82,795 crore, and it is going projected to grow at 10.7%, and it will hit 91,000 crore. But whether that will happen or not because of this COVID, we don't know, because this projection was made before the COVID hit us. Out of this, digital marketing share is 22,057 crore, which was last year, and it was projected to grow by 27 to 30%. And print media share was 18,164 crore, and print share was going to go to negative from 22% share, total share, to 20% in the current year. Same was with TV media share. It was 35,601 crore, which was to go down from 43 to 42%. It was a negative 1%. And digital share, which was to double to 50,000 crore rupees out of total. So whenever we see that whatever is positive and what is negative, so digital marketing share is going to go positive way and it's going to grow, and print and TV and others is going to go to negative. Now think about digital share. Facebook users are 2.6 billion, Twitter is 336 million, Instagram is 1 billion, LinkedIn is 675 million. So this is the kind of users on digital media. And when it grows at 27 to 30%, 3% more, you can imagine that what is the kind of growth which is going to come to us, and how to leverage this kind of users. So total, I think it is going to be around 5 billion people on Facebook, Twitter, Insta, LinkedIn, those kind of things. Again, same thing, if you look at TV viewing, now YouTube, Netflix and Hotstar among themselves are replacing the TV. So YouTube has a 2+ billion of user base. Netflix has 183 million. Hotstar is 350 million. So this is again, nearly 3 billion people are using this viewing experience through YouTube, Netflix, Hotstar, all these things. So this is what is the new reality, which we have to look into for what is the new normal. So as of last year, the total advertising spend was 82,795 crore, and which is projected to grow by 10.7% to go to 91,074 crore rupees. But whether this will happen or not, we are not sure, because now we are in the COVID times. These projections were made last year. So this year, after this March, the current year, which is happening from April onwards, how long it is going to go in this lockdown and what will be the media share, we don't know whether this projection will hold or not. But as per the last projections, let us look at what was the digital marketing share. It was 22,057 crore rupees. And it was projected to grow by 27 to 30%. So 3% positive. Then print media share was 18,164 crore. And it was to grow negative from 22 to come down to 20%. So 2% negative. Same thing was for TV media share. It was 35,601 crore, which was to grow negative from 43 to 42%, 1% negative. And others were having, like radio, outdoor, all these things were 8%, which was to grow at a static rate of 8%. Now, the project was that digital would double. Now look at the digital, the platform which is used by digital media is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all this. So user base of Facebook is about 2.6 billion. The Twitter is 336 million. Instagram is 1 billion plus. LinkedIn is about 675 million. So in total, if you look at the growth of this user base on digital platform, it is close to 5 billion people. Same thing is for TV. When we look at TV viewership, now the TV is getting replaced by smart TVs and YouTube, which has a user base of 2+ billion viewers. And this right now, this presentation is also going live on YouTube. Then Netflix has 183 million user base and Hotstar has 350 million user base. So in all, the viewership of this kind of programs, which has a shift on digital platform, the user base is about nearly 3.7 billion people. So think in a way that how this digital platforms is going to change our life in future. Our TV viewership, we think about it as a local viewership. But with the YouTube and others, it is all about international. It's boundaryless viewership. Same thing is for digital media, the social media platforms. So all these things are changing our life and changing our life for good. And now it is our responsibility to how to make it more meaningful, how we are more passionate about it, and how we are going to bring good things to the life of the people. So these are the 4 P's of marketing and 4 P's of societal marketing we were talking about, is that people, profit, purpose, and passion are the new 4 P's of societal marketing, which is going to supplement. The people will supplement product, the profit will supplement the price, the purpose will supplement the promotion, and passion will supplement the place. So that is all about my presentation. I hope you would have liked it. Thank you very much. And we can go for the Q&A now.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful session highlighting the importance of societal marketing and how it is very essential in today's time. I would also like to acknowledge that the webinar has been casted live on YouTube channel of Mark Heaven as well as on the channel of Department of Management and Financial Studies. Now, I would kindly request all the attendees to post their queries over the chat box, and I would hand over the question and answer session to our moderators, Bhavini Bharadwaj, Priyal Jindal, and Abhirami Nair from BMS Third Year.
Thank you, Anusha.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Anusha. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Societal marketing concept puts human welfare on top before profits and satisfying the wants. So you've explained this concept in detail to us, which has instilled some questions in our minds. If you allow us, I would like to begin with the Q&A.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. First and foremost, societal marketing is closely linked with CSR and sustainable development. Post-COVID, companies would want to focus on earning maximum profits in a short period of time to compensate their losses rather than go out for social responsibility. How would one still think about societal marketing, and what can be the source of motivation to achieve it?
I don't agree with what this question is about, that companies will go for more profit without looking at CSR and other kinds of activities, because company here are on a long haul. You cannot think in a short term that what is my target of next quarter or next 2 quarters or 1 year or 2 year. Your customers are for long term customers. If you want to retain the customers, then retention of the customer is more profitable to the company. It has been proved by the research and research done by Professor V. Kumar and others, that what is in it for retention of the customer, that out of 10 customers, if you can retain at least 1 or 2 regular customers, then it compensates the profit of rest other customers who are occasional customer. So you should look at customer retention rather than customer acquisition in this kind of COVID era. And that will give you the profit also, and it will give you the purpose and the passion, which I talked about it. So all the 4 components of societal marketing is going to be very vital in determining what the company wants to do and whether they want to exist in this era or they will be exiting. Because customers are very brutal. They don't have any loyalty if the company is not working according to what they want them to do. So we have seen companies like Tata Group. They have a history of over a century in existence, and they have been spending a lot of money. They have seen Spanish flu in 1920 also. They have seen the First World War, the Second World War, and how the market has gone down. But they have never gone out of their way to say that we are here for making profit and we are not there. And company like Tata, they have created Tata Sons, and all the assets of Tata Group companies are in the hands of Tata Sons, which is a trust. And the trust is spending all the money what they earn for the benefit and good for the people of this country and all over world also. So I don't think that companies which are serious companies, which are good companies, they will do like this kind of things.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. The next question is that there are companies like Volkswagen that engage in massive advertising for their new products, but there are also companies like Rolls-Royce, which are luxury companies, and they do not associate themselves with mass advertising. So, do you think that coronavirus would change this, since consumers would be limiting their expenses on luxury products? So, do you think that companies like Rolls-Royce would be engaging in these massive advertising?
Companies like Rolls-Royce or luxury products, they are going to face the maximum hit because they were selling their products mostly to the affluent people, and spending of these affluent people is also going to come down in kinds of uncertainties. So Rolls-Royce major market was all Arab countries. They are facing the heat of oil economy. Oil economy is not as dominant as it was earlier. You have heard about how Boeing company have lost all the orders for their planes, and nobody wants to buy a plane in this kind of crisis. So Rolls-Royce, it is not just that it is manufacturing cars. Rolls-Royce is big in manufacturing the engine for the fighter jets, for the plane also. And we just think that Rolls-Royce is only a car company. It is not only. So even products, you feel today that many luxury stores are closing down in USA, standalone luxury stores and all kind of things, because there is no pent-up demand for these luxury goods immediately.
So they will have to rethink and reinvent themselves to stay in business. And to stay in business, they will have to become, you cannot dilute your brand value, right? But at the same time, you have to acquire more customers to remain in the business. So I think in the short run, they will try to get more at the cost of the profit. They will try to get more customers, and customer acquisition is the way ahead for this kind of companies to remain in business. But other than their advertising spend and all other things, they do care about it, and their advertising spend and other things, it is not visible to us that what they are spending. To acquire a customer, they are spending in many ways. If you are a big customer, if you want to buy 10 Rolls Royce at a time, then they will send whole team out in a chartered aircraft, or they will bring you to their showroom, to their factory, and this is all their advertising spend, but which is not visible to us because it is not a traditional method of marketing.
That makes sense, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next question will be asked by Abhirami.
Good evening, sir. So, sir, you said that suppliers and the supply chain are an integral part. So, post-COVID, how difficult will it be for corporates to utilize or basically cash in on their distribution and supply chain?
That is going to be the very, very vital part of everything, because suppliers, without suppliers, you cannot manufacture any goods. Whatever inventory you have, you will utilize the inventory, but how to refill the inventory? So you have to have minimum SKUs in your factory, and without that SKU, you cannot go for the manufacturing of anything, because there are assembly line manufacturing or those kind of thing. If you have shortage of one product, your whole assembly line will stuck up. All other components will become useless without that one component. Suppose in car industry, if you don't have the steering wheel, you cannot make your whole car ready without steering. You cannot. There are component-based industries. Even food, if you don't have proper packaging material, then you can, whatever food you manufacture, like snacks and other things which Pepsi or other manufacturers like Haldiram, Bhujiawala, they are manufacturing. One ingredient will make their entire product useless. They cannot market it. They cannot ship it out. They cannot pack it. So in supply chain also, if the supply chain is non-existent, then how do you send out the product to the end consumer? So every stakeholder is equally important. And if there is one stakeholder which is missing out of the chain, you cannot survive in the business.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So the next question is, you mentioned about Lufthansa using the concept of coming together by their roundtable thing.
Yeah.
So, but how will companies now be able to cope and keep pace in the worldwide economic slowdown and regain their market share? Like, it will be very tough for Lufthansa for the product they sell.
No, that was the example not for Lufthansa, but it was a message. So they were not selling their product, but they were giving out the message that united you stand and individually you will fall. So what they were trying to give the message to the people, they were not trying to sell their tickets or their services. They were trying to tell you that wherever you are, if you want to do any good for the society, you have to stand together. So like you are hungry, you are sitting on the table, but other people are missing, you will not get the food. So all the 20 people, when they sit on the table, even if I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat that food, but for you, I am sitting on the table. So long as you are hungry, you are taking the food, I will sit there so that you can fulfill your need of the hunger. If I get up, you will be hungry again. So that was the message they were trying to give. They were not trying to sell their tickets or other things. The airline industry in itself, in the present crisis, it will take years to come back, and many will wind up. Many small airlines companies in US, in UK, they have already started winding up process. So it is going to be a tough years ahead for the airline industry. But one good thing about that is the oil economy, which has crashed. So if they want to revive back, then the airline fuel, which is the biggest cost for the airlines, that will help them to regroup their business and get back on feet as early as possible.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll have only one last question.
Hello, sir. So the question is, do you feel that for a product like Pepsi, which is not considered to be in the best health interest of the consumers,
Product like
Pepsi, the aerated drink
Pepsi.
company?
Yeah, Pepsi.
So do you think that they should employ societal marketing for sustainable impacts in future, considering that they both are complete opposites since their image is of a hazardous products nowadays? So will that be of any use for that company?
See, Coke or Pepsi or these kind of products, what they are selling, basically they are into aerated drinks market, but they have started diversifying their portfolio. So they have become more responsible now, and they know that what is the use and what is the abuse of their product. And sometimes, we are misguided by the social media. I have seen ads that Coke, if you use it to clean the rust, then how effective it is to clean the rust, or it can clean your toilet and all other things. But when we drink it, it is not that our system is like a rusted system which is going to clean it. So we have all our guts which digest everything. It is not that the acid is directly going into our stomach and we are affected by it. Otherwise, Coke or Pepsi, these products are there for several decades, and people have not been affected by it. It is not a sin product in a way, but yeah, they are using a lot of sugar and a lot of water. So what they are selling is water, a sugary water, but which is to your taste, and it is a carbonated, so a lot of gas is there in it. But directly it is not affecting to your system. It is anyway, anything which is unnatural is not good for us. So we have to be more responsible in what is the consumption habit we should adopt now. So, your homemade chaas, the buttermilk or sugarcane juice is far better. Your natural fruit juice is far better than anything else. They are selling packed juices and other things. Your coconut water is better than anything. So we should look at that way, that what is good for us and what is not good for us. But they are creating the product, and they are also, like Pepsi is selling snacks, Pepsi is selling chips, all those kind of things. And they are exporting also in a big way. So when they are depleting certain resources out of this country, they are also supplementing in a big way. They are also helping supplement the forest and other things. When they are depleting the water resources, they are recharging it also. So big corporations have big money, and they know that they are here. And India is such a big market. It is the second largest population country in the world. And they see that there is a market out there. And in all other countries, these kind of markets, the population is growing and growing old. So, consumption is going to happen in India, and they will have to be more responsible towards India and towards the people. So, as I said, that it should be people-centric, it should be price-centric, the profit has to be redeployed, and it has to be have passion also, and there should be a purpose also. So they'll definitely adopt all these 4 ingredients going forward.
Also, sir, do you feel that for a company that's just starting and a startup should engage in societal marketing from the beginning to advertise their product and their company?
Definitely. Because as I said, without purpose, there is no business. You cannot run the business for a longer term without any purpose. So when you are doing a startup company, first of all, you should decide that what is your purpose and whether you are passionate about that business or not. Many times I have seen that young people who are into startup, they think that company is there only to create valuation, and at certain valuation we are going to exit. So you are not in love with your passion or purpose. You should not be in love with the company. You should be in love with the product, because the life of the product cycle or life of the company, which is uncertain. But if you have a passion and purpose, you can certainly survive the difficult times, and you can make it grow. Just look at the valuation of Microsoft. And initially there was one investor in Microsoft. He sold all his shares. Same thing with Apple also. And in today's term, it was at $800. Today, if you count, had he retained that, I think Eco believed in that company, believed in the product, believed in the survival, it would have been hundreds of billions of dollars. So if you think you are here for a short term, then think that why somebody is investing in your company at a higher valuation, because he thinks there is a product out there, he thinks there is a market out there, and many a times there are outside investors who create the market for you. But you should have patience and you should have purpose. If you don't have both these things, and if you don't look at people, then you are not going to survive anymore. And even there will be no handholding by the investors. Investors community know very well that if you have these ingredients, they have the tools to market you, to survive in the market, what it takes. They provide you with the directors and other things to guide you through the process properly. And profit will come automatically. And that profit, if you are redeploying for the growth of the business, is good, because that is what is you are determining the price.
That was really insightful, sir. That is all for the Q&A session. Now Samriddhi will be taking over for the vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session on societal marketing. The way you explained to us how it is become such a new normal was exemplary. Your session has inspired many of us to delve deeper and explore more into this topic. On behalf of the Department of Management and Financial Studies and Mark Haven, the Marketing Society of Shahid Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women, University of Delhi, I would like to express my extreme gratitude to Mr. Jayant Shah for taking out time from his schedule and gracing this session with his insightful knowledge, experience, and expertise. It was our privilege to have you with us today. Privilege to have you with us today, sir. We would like to present our eminent speaker with a letter of gratitude with the painting in the background made by Kritika Verma from BMS second year.
Thank you, Kritika, for this beautiful letter and the painting what you have made on the background. I am really floored by your love and affection for me. Thank you very much. And I want to tell you that you all have bright future ahead, and success will come to you in life if you follow these principles in your life. Don't veer away from these principles. Yeah, carry on.
Thank you so much for your blessing, sir. Further, I would also like to thank Mr. Jaikar Rao for coordinating with us and ensuring a smooth functioning of this webinar. I would also like to thank all the attendees who have been such a great audience to this webinar. I'm thrilled to inform you that we received an overwhelming response of over 900 registrations from all over India. I would hereby add that all the attendees are required to fill in the feedback form provided in the chat box. Extreme gratitude towards the members of Mark Haven, social media team, editorial team, and the council members who have devoted a lot to this webinar. I also want to thank my seniors, Priyal Jindal, Abhirami, and Bhavini Bharadwaj for moderating this session and guiding us throughout. And a big thanks to our teachers for organizing this webinar. Now, I would request all of you to turn on your videos for a group photograph.
And a big thank you to your Professor Rablin.
Yes, sir.
Sir, it was our pleasure that you have accepted our invitation of giving the webinar. It was our pleasure, sir.
No, but your persistence made it the day. And I'm sorry, in between there was a glitch in the last slide. And but hope everything went well from my side and from your side also. So all the attendees who were attending this webinar, I'm floored by that 900 numbers which had registered. I don't know how many actually joined and what was their expectation and experience. Hope it was fulfilled by this talk.
Oh.
Ma'am, are we through with the photograph?
No. Who is taking photograph? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So before concluding, I would reiterate the instructions. Kindly fill the feedback form posted in the chat box and attach the picture taken while attending the webinar in the form itself. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rablin. Thank you,
Thank
Ishita
you.
and team out there for this beautiful session. And everything went well as per your expectation.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for coming to our college. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
Shall I exit now?
Definitely, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.